Today's episode of the Bill Simmons Podcast is brought to you by SeatGeek. As always, that is our presenting sponsor. Since forever, find the best tickets for MLB, for the NBA Finals, for the NHL Finals, for the Opera, for Hamilton, whatever. It is the easiest way to shop for the best tickets thanks to their revolutionary grading system. I was checking it out this weekend. I've been looking for Dodger tickets. Buy and sell tickets in just 2 taps on your phone. 2 taps. Everything fully guaranteed. Try it out. Download the SeatGeek app today or go right to SeatGeek.com. We are also brought to you by our 2. That was my dad coughing. We're also brought to you by our 2 newest podcasts, Larry Wilmore, Black on the Air, and Against All Odds with Cousin Sal. Both of them doing very well. People enjoying them. I urge you to subscribe to both. They are rounding out our Ringer podcast universe. Don't forget to check out theringer.com, where Kevin O'Connor has a great story today about the Celtics and whether they should be building for 2018 or 2025 or both. We also have Hassan Minhaj coming up, but first we're going to talk about the Celtics with my dad because last night was insane. But first, Pearl Jam. All right, on the line, my dad. He's available. He's retired. Celtics fan. Left at halftime in Game 2. Didn't leave the building, but went to have drinks and just never came back because the Celtics were down by 40 points. That was one of your 5 lowest home game moments you've ever had as a Celtics fan, Dad?
It might have been my lowest. I actually don't ever remember leaving my seat at halftime and not returning. And I'm glad I did because the lead just got higher after I left in the third quarter. But I've never seen that happen. I've never seen a team dominate us like that, particularly in the playoffs.
So
all of that makes last night even more shocking, don't you think?
So you didn't. It's not like you quit. You were just getting drinks, and then you kind of looked at your wife and you just said, "Do we even want to go back to our seats?"
And we're watching the TV, and suddenly a 30-point lead was edging toward a 40-point lead, and it just it was tough to sit there. A good number of people left at halftime, and certainly never returned.
And the Cavs are pretty cocky too.
You've never seen that kind of a playoff game before, have you?
There's been ones that there was, in 2009, they lost Game 7 to Orlando. That was an ass kicking. The 2012 when LeBron destroyed us in Game 6, not to the level where 70-29. You see a score like that like twice a year, and never in the playoffs.
Yeah. You're right. The other one, I guess, I would put in the same category. It was that Game 6 where, as you said, LeBron destroyed us.
There was another one in 2005, Game 7 against the Indiana series, when that our Test Melee team, when they had like 6 players, and the Pierce had gotten thrown out in that Indiana game, and then they came back for Game 7, and Indiana just killed them by like 25. But yeah,
I don't count. I tell you, I don't count games like that though, because that 2005 team wasn't a very good team.
Yeah.
And, the team where we went to, where the Game 6 where LeBron destroyed us, I thought we had a chance to move on that year.
Yeah.
And I guess we overrated our team versus LeBron's team.
Well, wait a second though. He never played like that. Like that in Game 5 in Miami, the Celtics won. Pierce made some big threes. It looked like Miami was self-combusting a little bit, and that led to LeBron basically reaching deep within his soul. It's interesting, though. You look at the first 2 games in Boston and then the way LeBron looked in Game 3. In those first 2 games in Boston, he does that fast walking thing that he does, where he's so locked in. He's just, it almost looks like he's, trying to catch an airplane or something. He's just fast walking everywhere, and he's just locked in. The game yesterday, a lot of people have mentioned and written this already, but he just didn't look like he was in it from the get-go. He had that drive on Crowder, and Crowder ripped the ball from him. And it just doesn't usually happen to LeBron, but for the most part, just looked like he was bored, like he just thought they had to show up and win. And, he wasn't wrong. They were up by 21 with 7 minutes left in the third quarter. So, listen.
It was really a strange game by LeBron. Having sat there the first two games at home here in Boston, where he scored high 30s, and I thought he could have scored 60 points if he wanted to.
Yeah.
And then to see him, it looked like he was, I don't know what he was doing. He was certainly playing the facilitator. Love was hot. The guard was hot. But
Kyrie Irving?
He just the
guard.
Yeah, I remember his name. I know who he is. But he just looked out of it. He looked like he was in a fog. And I know a lot of people on the radio, anyway, have already said he kind of looked like Harden looked in that Game 7.
He just had a bad game.
Of it. You just don't expect him to have a bad game after he destroyed us at home.
I know, but that's credit to him, though, is that when he has a bad game, people immediately assume like something horrible has happened. I'd like to think he's a human being and is capable of kind of mailing in a game or just not having the usual gusto. What was weird, though, was that in my head, I actually thought the Celtics were going to play better last night just because defensively they were going to be better because, Isaiah, who we're going to talk about in a second, but not having him out there and going with a more defensive lineup, at least you knew the Cavs weren't going to be able to do whatever the hell they wanted on offense. But what I didn't expect, I just thought LeBron, I thought they cared about going 12-0. I thought that was like a measuring themselves against the Warriors. Right. Like, oh, you're going to go 12-0. Watch this. We are too. So that's why I was surprised that they kind of mailed in last night, or at least some of them did.
Yeah, I'm not sure they mailed it in. They shot well. Their defense was pretty iffy, but they just didn't have the same LeBron out there. And let's face it, you and I sit there, or if you're not here and we're talking on the phone, and we watch Marcus Smart and Jay Crowder take 3-point shots.
Yeah.
And we scream, no, 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 no. Well, Marcus Smart, how much money would you have put down that Marcus Smart was going to make 7 3-point shots last night?
He saved them.
It would have been pretty good odds.
He started making them when they were down 20, and he was the reason they came back. Chris Ryan wrote a piece for The Ringer today about who gets credit for the comeback. And to me, it's like the game was over and Marcus Smart started hitting bombs. And then all of a sudden it was 10 points. And when you're coming back from 20, which the Celtics team, unfortunately, has had a ton of experience with, it's got to be 2 runs. You got to get that one that gets it back to 10, and then you have to have the second run. And the first one was all Marcus Smart. But that's what it's been like to watch this guy for 3 years. Sometimes he looks like the worst player in the league. And then other times he does that.
He's a heart attack kind of player. But it was also that kind of game, and we've been to many of them, where it's the hump game. Can they get over the hump? They're down 21. They closed it to like 1 or 2, and I think they might have even tied it, and then Cleveland went back up 5.
Yeah.
And you just got the sense if they could get a lead, we're pretty good when that happens. And finally that happened.
They still missed. I rewatched it. The Cavs were up 2. Although I think it might have been 1, but we didn't know it yet because we didn't know the Horford counted for 3.
The Horford 3, yeah.
But Love had a wide open. Horford missed a wide open shot for 3, and then it came down on the other end. They swung it around, and Love had a corner 3 that he's made, for the entire series and for most of the season. And if he had made it, they would have been up 5. Although it would have cut back to 4 with like a minute and a half left, and he missed it. And it was, it was a combination of the Cavs just shot really well in this series. Those first 2.5 games, right. Love had 5 threes in the first quarter. That's not something that happens often. And the Celtics, I heard on the radio when I was driving my nephew home yesterday before the game. I was listening to the pregame show, and Brian Windhorst they had Brian Windhorst on the show, and he said the Celtics had missed 61 wide open shots in the first 2 games. And that kind of confirmed, because I went to game 1 with you, we both felt like the Celtics had wide open shots the whole game. I didn't feel like the Cavs were playing that good defense. It was just we were missing shots over and over again. They finally started going in. I don't think this Cavs defense is very good, is my point.
Yeah, we did. I mean, we both said the same thing. We walked home after game one that because we only had one day between a pretty grueling game 7 against Washington and the opening of the Cavs series, that it looked like the Celtics' legs were shut. A lot of those jumpers that they were making against Washington were hitting the front of the rim, and you're right. We missed an awful lot of open shots. We missed open shots in the first half last night.
Yeah.
And then suddenly we started making them in the second half, and the shots that Cleveland had been making, like that Love three-pointer that I thought was surely going in, they didn't go in.
To be clear,
it still came down to that great ending.
Right. But to be clear, though, wait a second, though. To be clear, Cleveland's a better team, but the Celtics weren't. It was way more skewed than it seemed in those first 2 games because they were making everything, and the Celtics weren't making anything. And then on top of it, you had Isaiah who was out there who you and I were so confused by these last few weeks because anyone who's watched the team all season pretty closely, like he's just been incredible offensively and specifically on drives, finishing drives, and this little 12-foot stop and pop shot that he had this year where he would go in at the big guy and then do this little fall backwards jumper that he just
deadly.
This floater that he made all the time. And then in both playoff rounds and especially the Washington series, couldn't finish drives anymore. I was wondering if he had like a fractured jaw or something and didn't want to get hit. Because it didn't make sense. Because we'd watched him make those drives over and over and over again. All of a sudden, he wasn't making any of them. He wasn't making the stop and pop anymore. Goes into this next series, and they can't hide him on either end. I mean, he's an abomination offensively. Defensively, they're just torching him. And it got to the point where it's like they actually might be better off if he's not playing. We didn't know he was hurt, though. I had heard rumors I'd heard rumors of that he had a hurt hip, but we didn't know. And then it comes out he has a tear in his hip. And listen, go Google that injury. Not you, but the people listening. Like, that's a bad injury. Like, that's the injury that derailed Johnny Flynn's career. Everyone thinks Johnny Flynn's a bust. We did a big piece about him on Grantland 4 years ago. He had that same hip injury, but never did anything about it and played on it for like a year and ruined his career. Martell Webster, same thing. I think his career was never the same afterwards. Other guys have come back, like a Marcus Aldridge had it. Wilson Chandler's had it, but it's a legitimate injury, and to me it kind of fills in the blanks, right? Because we didn't know what the hell was going on.
Yeah, you and I talked about did he have a broken jaw? Because as you indicated, he was no longer going to the basket without any trepidation. He looked like he was turning off when he would get near the big men. And that little floater that he hit 90% of the time it came during the season suddenly was off. He wasn't aligned properly. But I never thought it was the hip. I thought it was the mouth.
But now doesn't it totally make sense? Because obviously he didn't want to get knocked down and fall on his hip.
But you know what makes it even, when you think about it now, just so amazing that he had that 53-point game.
Well, yeah, and the game 7, which the guys the last couple of days were talking about, like all the stuff he'd been through, that he gave them the effort he did in game 7, and I mean that's a crazy injury to play with. And it's funny, like these people that either haven't watched the team or the recency bias of the fact that the Celtics won last night. It's like, oh, they're better off without Isaiah. It's like Isaiah was never that good defensively, obviously. He was always a liability, and the smartest teams always found ways to kind of make the Celtics pay for having him out there. But the flip side was that he was so great offensively that it balanced out, and you could live with his defense because offensively he was having one of the 10 best and most efficient seasons in the history of the guard position. So now you're compromising
29 points a game,
right? But playing 34 minutes and shooting, almost 50, 40, 90. So now you're compromising him, and he's not having the same impact offensively. And now it's a disaster. And what you saw yesterday was the Celtics were able to double down on D. I also think Smart, and we saw it when Isaiah got hurt in December, some guys are just better with more minutes, don't you think? Smart's one of those guys, if he's going to play 40 minutes, I actually think he's better off and the team's better off. I mean, obviously, if Isaiah's out there, it's better for everybody. But to just give him the job, I think, is a good thing for him.
Well, I think, obviously, we're better off with Isaiah, but I totally agree. Smart doesn't seem to play hero basketball when he's getting lots of minutes. You put him in there for those 6-7 minute stretches 3 times a game, and it's as if and Jay Crowder's the same way. It's as if they have to score. They have to try to make that contested 3-point or jump shot. Whereas I thought he played a really smart, a really intelligent game last night.
Yeah, he was in control.
He had good. He had assists, he had rebounds, he had steals, played really well defensively. I think he took 1 3-point shot that he probably shouldn't have taken to get 4 people guarding him, but otherwise they were pretty open 3-pointers.
He was posting up. He's posting up Irving and creating plays out of that, which is something that started earlier in the season. His defense was good. Like, he fouled out in game 1 in like 20 minutes. He was able to stay on the court, which I thought was big. And Stevens finally started playing Jerebko a little bit, which you and I didn't. Jerebko's hit or miss, but Amir Johnson is just miss. There's no hit. He's hit or miss without the hit. And I don't know.
Everybody was surprised that he didn't start Jerebko over Amir Johnson. I mean, he tried everybody else, and I can't imagine we're going to see Amir again. He looks like he might have gotten hurt anyway, but he brings them nothing in this series.
Well,
I don't know if did you see the free throw disparity last night?
I figured you might bring that up. 36-12 seemed fishy for you?
Oh my gosh, 36-12, and we still won the game.
I can't. I would love for people to comb through Basketball Reference and try to find a plus 24 free throw on the road where you actually win. It's 93-45 for the series. In case you're wondering.
And we were going to the basket. I mean, I think, but we took one more 3-point attempt, something like that, than Cleveland. So it's not like they were driving and they weren't taking threes. It was pretty even, and we were driving as consistently as they were. And we had 24 fewer. I don't get it.
Yeah, they missed a lot of calls. They missed. Olynyk had one like in the last 3 minutes where he went to get an offensive rebound, and LeBron just like clotheslined him basically and got the ball. And Olynyk was like, "What the hell, LeBron?" They're never calling LeBron on that. But
I remember that.
But they were able to fight through it. What doesn't make sense? It's not like the Cavs have this massive post-up game, or. That it wasn't like they were flying to the rim last night. They shot, I think, 39 threes. So
Thompson was flying to the rim.
Thompson was, yeah. But, Thompson's one of those guys, they could easily call him for 18 offensive fouls, right? His offensive rebounding move is just to slam the guys in the back, which if you rewatch that tape, and I don't know why you would, not you, but just people listening, one of the things the Celtics... They tweaked a couple things in last night's game that were pretty obvious. One was that they just wanted LeBron to shoot threes. If they set the screen, they always went under. And if LeBron had the ball from far away from the hoop, they were very handsy with him and just kind of pushing him and shoving him and trying to annoy him. But then when it actually came to the pick and rolls, they wanted him to shoot threes. And they always had guys that could switch. In game 1, the one we went to, he was just constantly putting Olynyk or Isaiah into the switch, and then or whoever the Celtics didn't want. But they had enough good defensive guys out there that they could kind of solve that one. But the other thing they were doing on defense was really boxing out Thompson. And C-Web called it out a couple times too. Like there was one play where Bradley hedged somebody. It was a high screen. He defended the screen. It went to another guy, got shot, and then Bradley like darted in just to bulldoze Thompson out of the way. And it's like Bradley played 42 minutes last night. He took 23 shots. He guarded Irving most of the game. I mean, he was only 8 for 23, but I thought he was spectacular in that game. And really, him and Smart really played hard.
Right.
So
he's not making the jump shot like he did in the Washington series, but
right.
It seems like it's slowly coming back. He's a funny guy. We've watched him all year. If he doesn't have his legs under him, his jump shot is fairly useless.
Right.
And so he had a good second half last night, and maybe that will continue tomorrow night.
The foul shots, the one thing that was crazy was I think Horford was 7 for 18 field goal attempts. But they posted him up, I don't know, 11 times, 10, 11. How many times do you think they posted him up in that game?
Yeah,
at least 10, right? Nate he didn't shoot one free throw. That was, wow, not once he ever got fouled on one of these post-ups.
Meanwhile, I think Thompson, how many free throws did he have? Like
he had like 15. He had 15 last night. Some of them were, some of them were just he was really hustling.
Well, some were legitimate. I remember when we were sitting at game one, and they were fouling him intentionally. I asked, "Is he a poor?" I didn't realize he has a history of being a poor free throw shooter.
He switched hands.
But he certainly made him. He switched hands, really.
Yeah, he switched hands like after his second year. We got to talk about Stevens. I was watching the game with a couple of people, including my kids, and every time we called timeout, like 2 minutes left, I was saying to them, like, we score out of timeouts. This is what Brad Stevens does. They had 3 timeouts.
At the first game we were sitting, we wish we had 100 timeouts.
Yeah, that was
because we'd score 90 times.
That was one of your things you said that I wished I could tweet. That if Brad Stevens had 100 timeouts, we would be the greatest offensive team of all time.
We'd never lose.
But he had 3 timeouts. He had 3 timeouts in the last 2 minutes, and the Celtics scored on all of the timeouts. And the second one was the one with Jerebko, who hadn't even been on the court for a while. And they ran. I urge everybody to go watch this play because there's a sneaky part of this play that I haven't seen anybody talk about yet. Smart inbounds the ball, and it goes to Bradley. And people remember Bradley goes flying into the basket. 4 Cavs come down on him, and he whips it out to Jerebko, who's waiting there, and he shoots. And it's should have been a 3, but his foot was on the line. With the part of that play that was amazing, and it's definitely a foul. Smart inbounds the ball. Kyrie's guarding Bradley. Bradley's about to make his move, and Smart darts like basically straight ahead toward where Jerebko is, and Bradley makes his move, and it has to be intentional because it was so brilliant that I refuse to believe it was an accident. Bradley basically runs him over, like almost like an offensive lineman, and then that's why Bradley was able to go flying in there. But Smart, it wasn't just an illegal moving screen. It was like an illegal sprinting pancake screen. And I don't know if it was intentional or it was designed that way or whatever, but it worked. And then the last play, same thing. They were able to get the Bradley thing.
When you watch the last play,
J.R. Smith.
And we're on the road. I think we were fortunate they didn't call Horford on an offensive foul.
Yeah, the moving screen was there.
The moving screen, he moved about 3 feet, and he took Thompson with him. I think if that was early in the game, that gets called.
But that's the thing is, this has been the story of the playoffs, is the Draymond Green moving screens. The Marcin Gortat in the last round, we were sitting there laughing. Like, he wasn't just moving. He's actually he's sticking his fingers out and pushing the people like a masseuse. But it just seems like Tristan Thompson does it like as bad as anyone. Horford is way up there on the illegal moving thing, but it just seems like guys are doing it every play, and I don't think they even call it anymore. It's really rare to see it called, right?
It is rare. I mean, but as soon as I was during that play, that was what worried me because you could see Horford moving.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it was a beautifully designed play. But again, we love it when Brad designs a play out of a timeout.
I thought, didn't you think that was going to Bradley? I said in the room watching it, I was like, this is Bradley. It's Bradley curling around something with 3 seconds left. Because we've run that play before.
I didn't know, and I tell you why. Because Bradley was 6 for 22 at that point. Right. Or no, 8 for 20, whatever he was. I wasn't sure it was going to Bradley. I thought it would be something Horford in the post. I wasn't sure.
So getting swept and getting killed by this Cavs team, would have really thrown the whole summer into flux, I think. And now it's like, now it feels like the universe. Now it's okay. It's like, all right, we defended Celtic pride, won a game on the road. Now it's like, all right, keep fighting and then see where it goes. Obviously, Cleveland's there's a 99.9% chance they're going to win this series. And then go into the summer and figure out what the future is, which we can't figure out.
You and I, there's a good Shaughnessy article in the Globe today. You and I don't, over the years, we don't always agree with what he writes, but I thought he hit the nail on the head today. And he talked about, obviously he's talked about Celtic pride, but he also talked about the importance of winning that game last night. You know, they've had such a good season, obviously. You win the first two rounds. You don't want to get swept. You don't want that bad taste to go into the summer. Cleveland is a better team. We know that. They're probably going to win the series unless something miraculous happens with our, consistent shooting. But we may take one more game.
I thought you were going to say something miraculous happens, like LeBron James and Kevin Love both get mononucleosis or something.
No, if the same LeBron James shows up tomorrow night and Thursday night that showed up last night, I think we're in good shape. I don't know who that guy was. That wasn't the guy that came to Game 6 a couple of years ago and destroyed us.
Hold that thought.
I don't know who that was.
Hold that thought. Quick break with a message brought to you by CreditWise from Capital One. You know what? Numbers are great. WHIP, WAR, PR, a massive free throw disparity. But on their own, they don't tell the whole story. Credit isn't any different. With credit, it's all about how well you perform against the factors that go into a credit score. Let's break it down. How good are you at paying your bills on time? How much credit do you have spread across different accounts? How long have those accounts been open? Fortunately, my dad is married to my stepmother, who is the most type A person on the planet, and she has excellent credit. But some people don't. All of those factors impact your credit health, and since there's no one single score that lenders use, knowing these factors are key, there's a lot more to your credit than just knowing your score. CreditWise lets you track the factors that make up your credit health using information from your TransUnion credit report. The app can help you spot errors or identify theft and lays out information you need to understand your behaviors and how they impact your credit health. Plus, you can check it anytime without negatively impacting your credit. And the best part, it is 100% free for everyone. Whether you're a Capital One customer or not, step up your game. Download CreditWise today. Okay. Let's talk about LeBron really quick, and then you have to go. We've seen him play a couple of the best games I've ever seen anyone in my life play in person. The 2012 Game 6. Game 1 on Wednesday night, he was outrageous. And you've had Celtics season tickets since the 1973-74 season, which is when, at that point, Kareem was the best player in the league. That was, I think, Wilt's last season, Jerry West last season. So you're going way back. You're going 4.5 decades, basically. Where does he rank for you right now?
He ranks second behind Jordan.
Wow.
I would
high praise.
Anytime we played Jordan, I was scared. I'm not, because LeBron throws you a game like last night.
Yeah.
I don't put him in the same place right now, and I'm not sure why. Physically he's superior in terms of the things he can do, but mentally, you just can't have a game like last night. I mean, that team should have been on a mission. I mean, Golden State had just won the 11th in a row in the playoffs. Golden State should have taken that as a challenge, and LeBron should have come out and scored 39 points again. So I can't put him above Jordan. I don't know about you. Do you feel the same way?
Well, when you say you can't have a game like that, you're now comparing him to like 5 people on the planet. You're not comparing him to normal people.
No.
Yeah,
no.
I see what you're saying. Like Jordan, you're saying Game 3 last night with Jordan at his peak. Jordan's just he
doesn't have that game last night.
Right.
I don't think.
Right. He probably starts talking shit to Marcus Smart. He's yelling at everybody. See,
yeah.
When we went to Game 1, One of the reasons I was so impressed by how he played, it wasn't just like the stats and all that stuff. It was like the command of the court he has, and the way he's yelling at the refs. He's bitching about every call. He was talking to our bench. He's giving barbs to Stevens and some of the assistant coaches, and he's yelling at his team. He was just so locked in that it just really felt like watching somebody at like just the peak of their powers, which is what makes last night, as you said, so weird. Because we just watched this guy basically master basketball 4 days ago, and then he's like in this little weird funk. It was strange.
Yeah, I think you just phrased it really well. He wasn't locked in last night.
No.
And it's just kind of strange to observe that and to wonder why.
Well, the problem for us is that he's going to be locked in for Game 4, and he takes all this stuff personally. And he's like, "Oh, really? I'm not as good as Jordan, because Jordan would have never done that." He's going to absolutely destroy the Celtics tomorrow.
I'm hoping he doesn't listen to this podcast, by the way.
Yeah, I don't think he's listening. I don't think he's listening.
Okay, good. That's good.
I did think Crowder did a better job with him. He was more physical with him, and there was. I got to be honest. I really wonder if the Celtics had a little deer in the headlights those first 2 games. They were not physical. They weren't talking shit. They weren't physical at all with LeBron. They acted like he was superior to them. They were not physical boxing out. They weren't flying to the basket.
I thought they were exhausted.
Maybe that might have been part of it.
Everything you just mentioned really has to do with energy level, and the Cavs had 8 or 9 days off. LeBron came out like he had as much energy as any human being could possibly have, and we looked dead. That's a good point though, because now we're in game every other night mode, and that was the first. Right. They had played 3 games in 5 nights. They'd played Friday night in Boston, and you didn't have the same energy. And I do think LeBron on a week's rest is one of the scariest basketball things we've ever seen. It also somebody was talking about this. Maybe it was Roger Sherman from The Ringer. Somebody on my Twitter feed was talking about if NBA players only played twice a week, it was almost like the Premier League and soccer schedule, even in the regular season. Like it was just like 55 game season or whatever. And LeBron had this kind of rest all the time. What kind of numbers would he put up? It's interesting. Well, I think the superstars would be immensely helped, I think.
Oh, yeah. But I mean, to me, part of being a superstar is how the grind of the season, how you handle that. That's what separates the great, great, great ones from the not as great ones, So like the fact, like he can play 75 of 82 games, but just the continuity of that for 6 months, and he's still standing, and now he's got to do it again for 10 weeks in the playoffs, and he's doing this year after year. That's, to me, that's the case for him. As if you're gonna start talking about greatest ever, which I'm not ready to yet, just him doing that for 14 straight years is the best case for him.
I thought the announcers did a good job in the fourth quarter last night. They were talking about the last 20 games of the season, regular season for Cleveland, and how they had a losing record, and how I think they cited 3 different occasions where Cleveland had big leads and lost the leads in the fourth quarter, and it's exactly what happened last night.
Well, they aren't. They really aren't good defensively. My biggest takeaway from this series, with just how the Celtics have played, and they had not played well, is how many open shots they had, and the fact that
we've had a lot of open shots.
It's not like at one point in Game 2 they were talking about how Cleveland was locking them down defensively. It's like I'm watching us just miss shots we've made the whole season, and if I'm Golden State and I'm watching these games. And I'm watching round 1 where Indiana averaged like 109 points a game. It does seem like you can win these 115 to 110 type games. Yesterday it was 77-56, halfway through the third quarter. And the Celtics ended up scoring, I think, almost 60 points in the last 18 minutes of the game. And, when you start, it was big because they started making the same open shots that they'd been missing. But I really think that the Warriors, this is a great matchup for them, and they should beat this Cavs team. The X factor is LeBron, and the second X factor is the fact that Kyrie, who has been spotty, he was good last night, For whatever reason, Kyrie loves playing Curry. You know, that's a great matchup for him, and he thrives on it. So, those would be the two. I have not been impressed with their bench guys, and their bench guys really hurt them last night. Korver has not been good.
They didn't even play Channing Frye last night.
Yeah. They're not getting anything from their bench.
Love, I watched the first two series that Cleveland had, and Love really didn't do anything. He's hurt us.
Yeah.
He's making the shot. We're kind of leaving him open, and I'm not sure. We don't seem to be.
A couple times yesterday, he was making shots with a hand in his face, which was crazy.
He had that crazy shot in the corner where Horford had his hand in his face, right?
It's hard for me to believe. I do feel like they don't, they have so many riches that it's maybe hard for them to choose sometimes. But, man, when we're defending Kevin Love with Jerebko, or we have, like, Jaylen Brown on him, or it's really hard for me to believe after having watched his entire career that he can't post those guys up. That just seems like that should be an automatic 2 points every time. But they've kind of marginalized him a little in the corner. And that's
Right, they have. Listen, before I go, I wanted to give a shout-out. I just finished Kevin O'Connor's article in The Ringer today.
Yeah.
And he really did a nice job of laying out the Celtics situation, the predicaments we're going to have in terms of choices to be made, whether we're playing for the present or the future. What do we do with these pending free agents we have that I think most people aren't even aware of?
Yeah.
It's food for thought. It had me thinking, what would I like to see them do? So just would recommend it.
An organic Ringer plug. Thanks, Dad. Yeah, I agree with you. I don't know. I don't really know what the solution is other than that Isaiah's injury is the big X factor now, because if he has to have hip surgery, it scares me. He's
Isaiah was an X factor before the injury.
Yeah, but you're talking $200 million contract for a 5'8" guy with a hip injury is really frightening. As much as I love him, I mean that is a complicated wrinkle that they were not expecting. I think they were
exactly.
I think they were all ready to take Fultz or whoever and kind of limp through the next year with feet on both sides of the barrel. Try to sign Gordon Hayward, bring Zizic over, but if Isaiah has to have surgery now, I don't know.
I think that's still all in play. I think more than ever, it seems like they should want to take Fultz. More than ever, they should be looking at Gordon Hayward. But you have the Isaiah and Avery Bradley coming up at the exact same time, and Marcus is going to be restricted.
Yeah.
And what do you do with Jay Crowder? So.
Well, I know what you do with Jay Crowder.
I would hope that he enjoyed his new location. Yeah.
You like Jay Crowder?
Although he played good defense last night.
He was good. The problem.
Yeah.
If you were the GM and you were trading Jay Crowder, you would just call and be like, Jay, I think you're a very good basketball player. I just can't watch you take any more contested threes. I'm at my limit. I'm at capacity. Yeah. I can't do any more of this.
Maybe I should write him. Maybe as a fan, I should write him a letter and tell him I love his game, except.
Yeah. Dear Jay, please stop shooting contested threes.
Really?
I've been watching basketball at these games since 1973, and every time you shoot, I gasp out loud.
But you know what he has? I've noticed all three of these Cleveland games, and did in Washington too. If he fakes the three and then goes in and takes the 15-foot jump shot, he really has a good shot.
Right.
But there's something that must attract
he needs his feet.
Players.
Yeah, he needs his feet set. Smart has the same problem.
Exactly.
If he's set, he's a different guy. So would you trade the number 1 for number 3, Saric, and the Lakers' unprotected pick next year?
No.
Wow, no.
I think.
Oh my God.
No, I think the Lakers are going to be better next year.
You don't like Saric?
I'm not sure what.
You like Saric. You told me you like Saric.
I like him, but
you want to move back 2 spots and get Saric out of it? I'm not saying Philly would do it either, but think about it. Mull it over.
I've mulled it over, and I'd rather give up nothing and sign Gordon Hayward.
Okay, there you go. My dad.
I'd rather have Gordon Hayward through his emissary secretly telling the Celtics we're all set. We can't announce it, but we're all set before the draft.
Okay. Gordon, if you're listening, get on that. Send us a signal. Send us a smoke signal.
Okay.
Dad, you're going to Game 5, right? You're going to go? You're going. You're going to go to Game 5. Go to Game 5. You're going to Game 5.
The outcome tomorrow night.
No,
might
don't
influence my
be the
decision.
old guy. I know the late starts are killing you, but we'll see you at Game 5. Thanks for coming on.
All right. Talk
All right,
to you later.
bye. All right, I wanted to talk about Quip. That's the new company that's refreshing the way people brush their teeth. Having good oral health impacts your overall health, and yet most of us don't brush our teeth properly. 75% of us don't refresh our bristles. I mean, really, what's better than refreshing your bristles? Or visit the dentist on time. You don't need a big, expensive toothbrush to get the oral care you need either. Quip is an electric toothbrush that packs premium vibration and timer features into an ultra slim design. Half the cost of bulkier brushes, almost like Apple designed a toothbrush, but without Apple's big price tag. Just for the record, I have been on the electric toothbrush bandwagon forever, and I have great gum health. Quip is backed by leading dentists and was named as one of Time Magazine's best inventions of 2016. They won a 2016 GQ Grooming Award, made it on Oprah's 2017 New Year's O List. Quip toothpaste tastes fresh, strengthens teeth, and gives your mouth the perfect clean feeling. Quip starts at just $25. Subscribers receive new brush heads on a dentist-recommended 3-month plan for just $5. Includes free shipping. All you have to do is go to getquip.com/BS for your first refill pack, free, with a Quip electric toothbrush. Do you have an electric toothbrush?
I do.
I really don't understand why anybody would not have an electric toothbrush. I love electric toothbrushes. Quip sent me one. I am excited to have it in my life. Thank you, Quip. And that's it. All right, here comes Hassan Minaj. All right, Hassan Minaj is here in studio. Big Netflix comedy special coming. How did you film? It's coming
Tomorrow.
May 23rd.
Comes out tomorrow, yeah.
Yeah. I don't understand how you filmed it because it looked like the camera was in. I was watching the ad for it. It looked like the camera was in front of you. But you were in an audience.
We got it on our director Chris Storer pulled a Birdman. He put the camera on. We took a lot of inspiration from that because it's a lot of personal stories about me, my dad growing up, immigrant story and stuff like that. And a lot of it's super intimate. So when I did it off Broadway, there's those moments where it gets super quiet.
Yeah.
And I remember I was like, how are we going to get this to translate? Because comedy specials, they play in the wide and they have a semi-tight.
Right.
But I'm like, how am I going to get this to
And a stool.
Yeah. And just one spotlight.
Yeah.
So to me, I was like, how am I going to get this to play? And Chris was he also directed Bo Burnham's special, which was great, Make Happy. He's like, we'll bring the camera on stage and do the whole, there's even a Michael Bay effect that happens where I'm performing and it just goes around me. And I didn't know if it would translate, but the audience was they were with it.
So the audience wasn't freaked out?
Mandy, you were there, right?
Yeah. Walking in front of you, basically?
What did the audience think?
The audience is there.
They can't hear her. Yeah. Manny said the audience was fine.
Yeah, they were just
Okay.
there to be part of the experience. And that's
Yeah.
part of it.
Yeah.
Because I was wondering, watching the preview,
Yeah.
if you taped it a second time for the close-ups.
Oh,
That's
no.
how cool it looked.
No, we did it.
Very innovative. I predict some awards buzz.
Really?
Yeah, for
That's big, bro.
best
That's big,
best
bro.
show directing or something. I was like, how the fuck did they do this?
But the thing that we thought about was how many times in a comedy special do you see person will tell said joke, they'll cut to audience for laughter.
Yeah.
But to me, some of the best specials, when you watch Dave or you watch Pryor, the best specials are when they cut and people are just listening or thinking or reacting in real time.
or masturbating.
Yeah, masturbating, yeah. Just jerking off and just a man vigorously pumping. Let's cut to that.
Cocktails. Yeah, no, I do like that.
But so it's there's a lot of moments in the show that just breathe. So I'm cover that, just have that. Yeah.
And when you're doing a show like that,
Yeah.
so how long was it? 70 minutes? 80
70 minutes. Yeah. 72. Yeah.
How do you have it so that in your head you're not even thinking about? Because I have a bad memory for remembering point A, point B, point C, point D.
Really?
Like, how do you lock that down so that you're hitting every single mark? Like, is there a point where you might screw up, like at the 45-minute? Oh shit! I said that joke. So I got to go back. Or,
yeah,
or
but
do you just go?
What's cool about theater is that you're given way more leniency than actually the stand-up set. Because if I was doing a traditional set with like the mic and I didn't have the screens and all that stuff, it would be like I have to get so many jokes per minute, or they'd be like, "Oh, he's losing them." You know what I mean?
Right.
Whereas with this, it was just like we're in the story. It's stories. They're like a collection of like 3 to 4 stories that link up together, and there's a thread that connects them all. But if there's something that's organically happening in the moment, or I'm recalling something, and also by that point, I had toured it around. I'd done it off Broadway. I did it around the country, like 40 plus cities. So it was
You're
locked
doing it in
in.
your sleep at that point.
Yeah, it was like locked in. The rush of it was doing in my hometown.
Yeah.
Like bringing it back to the place where all the stories happen, where, my family first came there. And that was the oh shit. That was like the special, that X factor that made you just feel that extra emotion there that night.
What did you say Comedy Central was? Because you're in the Daily Show. You said Comedy Central is the feeder system to Netflix.
Oh,
or the
yeah,
internship?
internship program for Netflix. What's crazy is they were at the dinner.
Was Comedy Central mad
they were
about
there.
that? They're like, what the fuck, dude?
They were sitting at the table with my family. So when I did that joke, you could see Kent Alterman and Sarah Babineau be like, nah, come on. Like their heads cocked back. Because, they don't like, it's a little on the nose, so it's just like, and then.
Well, so it's on the nose now that Netflix is throwing money at every comedian. Like,
dude,
they're basically trying to buy the corner.
But I didn't get the.
You missed out?
I didn't get the.
You missed out of the t-shirt cannon with money?
The Chappelle deal? No. They have like they have like that's the NFL, and I got like the XFL deal. Like, yeah. No, but it's still,
Hey,
yeah,
it's still a deal.
Look, man, it's cool and it's also in like 150 countries. What's wild is that they were just like, all right, we're going all in on stand up, and there was a period of time in the last few years with everything streaming. I was like, what's going on? So like, there's 3 specials a year on HBO. There's maybe like 5 or 10 on Netflix. Like, there's all these great stand-ups.
Yeah.
What happens to their specials? And then they were just like, all right, no, we'll quadruple down, and we're going to do this like every couple weeks. We're going to showcase
It
somebody.
is an amazing shift.
Yeah.
Because like in like the 90s, HBO had the Young Comedian special, which was one of my favorites.
How big
And,
was that at like breaking?
I mean, I was a nerd with this stuff, so it was super important for me. I don't know if it was like in the mainstream.
As a Boston dude, were you like, oh shit, that's Kevin Meaney? Like, oh man, like,
yeah,
like this is like a guy from like and he's coming up. And
I cared more about, because Letterman was really the place. Initially it was Carson, but in the 80s it was Letterman.
Wow.
So you knew some of these guys they would go on Letterman early.
Yeah.
And then the Young Comedians kind of became the new place and then that lasted. There was some,
do you remember growing up and really sticking around from 11:59 p.m. to stick around to like 12:50? Because they put up the comic last to
on
be
Letterman.
Like, yeah, right? Because they do monologue, act 1, act 2, and then they would do.
Well, it was 12:30, so it was even worse.
Oh,
so it was
shit.
like 1:30 in the morning. I was one of the first people that had VHS.
And you record it.
It was like, I'm talking like 82. I mean,
yeah.
I guess more people had it back
have you
then.
talked to Judd about this? Apatow was like a super, super nerd about this stuff.
I would tape Letterman.
Yeah.
And then in the morning, my mom would make whatever. And I would just watch the first 15 minutes of Letterman and then come back and watch the rest.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I wasn't allowed to stay up. I was only like 13, 14, 15 at that point. So
what was
But yeah, the comedian, but that's how I knew who Jerry Seinfeld was. So when Seinfeld came into Stanford, which is where I went to high school. It was like 87. I was like, we got to get Seinfeld's coming. My mom was like, who's Jerry Seinfeld? I was like, this guy that Letterman has on all the time. Like,
right.
Because he was breaking.
And he was
all
doing
these
like
dudes.
it like 6 or 7 times. He was doing it a ton, right?
Oh yeah. Leno was on every 6 weeks. Like nobody knew who Jay Leno was until he was going on Letterman, which is the irony of how
I
it
only
played
know
out.
Denim up top and up bottom Leno. Like I don't know Leno. Like apparently he was like an edgy
Leno was
young comic.
Leno
right?
was Letterman's best guest. It was
Really?
like, everything that good that happened on Leno was because of his Letterman appearances.
Oh, really?
It's seriously, he was like, the crowd would go crazy.
Yeah.
He had this running bit called "What's My Beef." And all right, Letterman would be like, all right, Jay, let's hear it. What's your beef? And then Jay would be like, well, you mean what's sticking to my craw? And he'd do this whole thing.
Right.
And so he had him, he had Seinfeld, Michael Keaton, who was acting but would come on and basically do comedy.
He did
And
stand up too, right?
Yeah. he had all these regulars, but then it was the comedian special. Then in the 2000s, it became the Comedy Central specials.
Right. Premium blend and half hours.
Yeah, and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And then it eventually led to this Netflix boom, which I would say is the most successful iteration of it.
I think
It's like 100, what'd you say, 150
148,
countries?
something like that, 150 countries, yeah.
And obviously it's doing well, because if you go to Netflix, there's always comedy specials in like the premier real estate spots,
but
which is where you're going to be.
The thing is, you got to think now is, what are you going to do to innovate within the space? That's why, for me, like, first special, I wanted it to be like the one-man show format, like on a stage, set designs, like really plan it out, like, because you have their attention for a week, because then next week it'll be like Tracy Morgan or Maria Bam. It'll be the next comedian. So you want to kind of, when you have that moment, be like, all right, well, what are you going to say? You know?
Yeah.
It's the same thing with the dinner. It's a rare time when you have like the nation's and the world's attention for like 20 minutes.
I thought you were hilarious about how you were talking about all the people that got passed up for it.
Jesus Christ. Everybody passed on it. Like, everybody. You know what's so funny? It reminds me of sports. You know how, like, people are like, how did so many people pass up on Kawhi? He was this guy who played for, San Diego State or something like that. It's one of those things. It's just like, James Corden passes. Alec Baldwin insists that he has to do it as Trump. Kevin Spacey wants to do it as...
Did Alec Baldwin really insist that?
Yeah. Like Kevin Spacey, Kevin Spacey wants to do it as Frank Underwood, and so then, like, people, you know, my agent was like, your name's being thrown around, and I'm like, I know where I'm at on the totem pole. Yeah. So it's just like, I'm second
but you're
round.
young though.
Yeah.
What are you, 31?
Yeah, but I also don't have a show. The pedigree is usually Conan, Kimmel, Larry had a show, like
Seth Meyers,
Cecily Strong had been on the SNL for a while. So it's one of those things where I was kind of a newcomer. I'd done the Congressional Correspondence Dinner the year before. Yeah. And I did this big speech on gun control because it was coming out of Orlando. And, no bill, no break was a big topic in Congress. And that kind of put me on the map a little bit. But I knew where I fell. I was like, oh, I'm the last call on the list. But
did you have a feeling that Trump was kind of hoping this dinner wouldn't even happen?
Well, by him pulling out, the narrative was he pulls out. Then he sends, Lord Voldemort tells the Death Eaters, you can't show up. So the entire administration pulls out. Then the public narrative is like, oh, the event's not going to happen. But it's been going on since 1921. And a lot of people don't know this. The White House Correspondents Association is a group of journalists who cover the White House. Yeah. They don't work. They're not King Joffrey's goons. Like, they don't work for the White House. And the dinner's actually really great. Like, they give scholarships to young journalists. Woodward and Bernstein were being honored. They spoke. It's a legitimately very good thing. Yeah. But it has nothing to do with the president goes as a sign of good faith to be like, I can take a joke. I'm honoring the freedom of speech and freedom of press. He's a baby, so he can't take a joke, so he pulls out. So the narrative that the public had was, oh, the event's not going to happen because it's the president's dinner, which is completely false. It's not. Yeah. And then I was put in a kind of an interesting situation where it's like Sam then announced, after Trump announced, oh, we're going to do not the White House Correspondents' Dinner. Or she actually announced, I think, before. Yeah. That she was going to do this anti-event to Trump, which kind of makes sense because he's such a narcissist that if celebrities showed up to the dinner, he'd be like, look at me, like I got George Clooney here, Kerry Washington, they obviously love me. So I understood that. So then
you felt like that hurt yours a little bit?
Well, I was put in a weird situation.
Brand confusion.
Yeah, exactly. If I show up, am I crossing some sort of picket line against her? But I called Sam, and Sam was like, go for it. Like, do it. And I knew they were kind of in panic because I got the gig 3 weeks before. And you usually get it. Yeah, like they were panicking, man. Like, you usually get the call 3 months before. Yeah. So 3 weeks before, they're like, do you want to do it? So I call Sam and I'm like, hey, look, like, we're all Daily Show alumni. Like, I'm at the Daily Show, she's alumni. It's like, I'm on the same side as you. Like, and she's like, do it. I call Larry Wilmore. Wilmore's like, look, think of it this way. You can throw bricks outside of the building. You can throw bricks within the building. So he's like, tag team it. Like, just you do your thing there and she does her thing outside of it, but do it. And so that was super cool. And then I was like, all right, I got to figure this set out in 3 weeks.
I think it was a good idea that you did it.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Well, for me,
different audience, get your name out there.
Yeah.
The monologue was good. It was a monologue, or what do they call it? It was like 25 minutes.
Speech? Monologue? I guess. I don't know.
Presentation.
Did you write for Kimmel's when he did it?
No, I did not.
Jimmy was like sweating up there. It's a tough gig. It's a nerve wrack. It's a weird room.
He said it was he said it was really hot when he did it.
Oh,
which
is that why?
happens
Is that why
in-
he was like? He was
Yeah. Because you're all wearing tuxes too. And
Yeah.
If the heat in the place gets beyond a certain place, it's like a fire retardant suit.
Yeah. It's weird.
I had a friend. I
Have
was
you
in
been
a
to the
wedding-
dinner before?
No, I've never been.
It's weird. It's a bizarre, and you're going to their party. You're up last, 10:30.
It's going on for like
For
hours
2.5
and
hours at that point.
The other thing for you is like Obama was such an asset at those dinners.
Yeah.
You know, he could keep the crowd going in the middle,
And he would crush.
and he was always good.
he would do
was,
30.
He was
and
like a
crush.
borderline stand-up comic.
I would say better, man.
Yeah.
Because in terms of that specific gig, he's tailor-made for it. Charismatic, charming, funny, quick, great orator, and he can do bits. Like, game over. There's
Yeah.
you'd be hard-pressed to find a comedian who could follow him in that room.
Yeah.
Then his last year, he crushes that. His finale set.
His
when he
last
dropped-
one was the best.
I don't know if I could have followed it. So for me, the
I
narrative.
miss him.
Yeah, he was cool.
I'm not even saying I missed the politician. I just
Right.
kind of missed the Obamas.
Oh, the guy? Yeah.
I just missed the fam.
Yeah, they're
I
a
don't know.
great first family.
They really were. I enjoyed
Yeah.
it. It was like they were like a sitcom family that didn't have a sitcom.
Very much so. Yeah,
The wife, they you could picture like she definitely gave him shit behind the scenes
Yeah,
all
yeah.
the time.
Yeah.
Probably like he put on 2 pounds. She's giving him shit about
Right,
it.
and
Oh,
there's-
Barack.
right,
yeah,
right,
maybe
and
we
then,
gotta
like,
go on a diet this
Episode
week.
3 or 4, he's like smoking in the backyard and like,
Yeah.
stop smoking. I
Oh, that
can't.
was episode 1.
Yeah. Sasha and Malia are just like, I caught Dad smoking. Like, there's that
That
moment.
was definitely the pilot.
There's that. Yeah. I mean, there's a
I
lot
thought
of great
Dad
stuff.
Smoking might have been the name of the show.
Right. Dad, tell me about how you met Mom. It's like, well, back in the day, actually, she was a partner at the firm, and I was trying to, like, you know what I mean? They needed a
Right.
flashback sequence. And
Narrator.
it's a young Barack. Yeah.
How many times have you been offered some sort of show, like sitcom, any of that stuff?
After the dinner, it's weird, man. It's like, I finished the dinner. I didn't know how it went until because I never felt like I had the room. You'd get these pockets. You'd get all
That's
these
what
weird
Kimmel
crumbs.
said. The same thing.
Yeah.
You don't feel like you have the room because it's there's too many different agendas going on. You don't have it.
Yeah. I knew up top when I did the USA Today joke and they were like, ooh. I was like,
Yeah.
over USA Today?
Yeah.
And I remember I wrote it.
Wait, tell the joke. I know the joke. But tell it for the audience.
USA Today is here tonight. Oh, no. It's amazing. We have some of the greatest journalists in the world. And yet when we all checked into the Hilton, we all got a USA Today. And they were like, oh, like it was like, oh, like that. Like it was like a world star level, like, no. And then it was like every time a USA Today slides underneath my door, it's like they're saying, hey, you're not that smart, right?
Right.
USA Today is what happens when the coupon section takes over the newspaper. And at that point, they were just like, too far. Like, we got to write a think piece about this. Why
my
Hassan
God.
Minaj's jokes about USA Today are problematic. Like, it felt like that. Like, you were USA Today phobic. I was
God.
like, Jesus. And you know, what's interesting is I worked with my head writer, Prashant, and I worked with John Mulaney on it too. And Mulaney had written for Seth Meyers'.
Yeah.
And Mulaney told me, he's like, look, man, up top, you got to lube it up a little bit. You got to just some layups.
Lube it up.
Yeah. Because you're about to ram it later,
Yeah.
you know? So it's just like, just ease in, man. Warm up, stretch. Like
Yeah.
right-handed layups, left-handed layups, like ease it in. So I was like, USA Today will be so like easier. Then I'll do CNN. Right. Then I'll get to like the harder stuff later. When I got the groans up there, I'm like, all right, strap in. Like this is going to be the rest of the night.
Yeah.
I knew that if I could get around to home base, defending freedom of speech is a bipartisan position. So like whether you're a bleeding heart conservative or liberal, you're going to just be like, USA about like Indian American Muslim kid being like, and that's why freedom of speech is, and we're one of the greatest countries in the world. Only in America can an Indian American Muslim kid get on this stage and make fun of the president. Everyone's like, yeah. So if I could get to that, I was like, I'll get the room. But the 21 minutes before that, I was like, I don't know what's going to happen. And I didn't know that I had the room until, then I was just like, thank you and good night. And then when people stood up, then I was like, this is unbelievable. I couldn't believe that. And then it was weird. Then the Illuminati called when Anna Wintour was like, do you want to go to the Met Gala? I was like, all right, this is getting weird. That was weird. That was like the next day. And
Did
I'm
you
like,
go?
Yeah, that was weird. Surreal.
Celeb studded.
Yeah, it was the opposite of what the White House Correspondents' Dinner was. No
Yeah.
celebrities were at the dinner. And
White
then
House celebrity dinner is more like guys wearing suits that have coffee spilled on them
right.
for the most part, and
Yeah.
some tuxes.
Yeah, but I actually know the characters. Like, I'm like, yeah, that's like Jake Tapper. Like,
Yeah.
working at The Daily Show, I know the characters in the room. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
Glenn Thrush. Oh, yeah. Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I know the... So people make fun of it, but I'm like, yeah, I know these guys.
I want to talk about the Kings, but first, quick break to talk about Legacy Box, a simple and affordable way to get your recorded moments digitally preserved on DVD or thumb drive. If you're like most Americans, there's a box in your closet of videotapes, film reels, photos that you haven't watched or taken out in forever. Worse, guess what? They're deteriorating. Film gets worse and worse over the years. I have a closet filled with videotapes from high school and college. Might include some incriminating moments of some of my friends. I should be protecting these things. I need ammo on these guys, even though we're all old now. It's always good to have ammo. Here's how easy it is. Load Legacy Box with your old tapes, films, pictures, audio recordings. Send it back. You'll get them back in a couple weeks on DVD or a convenient thumb drive, ready to watch, share, or relive. Legacy Box takes care of everything, provides updates at every step of the process. That's why over 250,000 families have used them. The Huffington Post, Parents Magazine, USA Today, all talking about Legacy Box. Find out why. Don't let your crappy videotapes decompose in your attic. Go to legacybox.com/BS to get a 40% discount on your order. That is legacybox.com/BS. Let's talk about the Sacramento Kings.
Yeah.
That's your team. I never get a chance to talk about the Sacramento Kings with anybody. We have a fan in the office at the Ringer, Riley
Are you
McAtee.
serious?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Dude, we get shat on all the time, and I got into a big argument with Larry Wilmore about this, but I'm talking about the O2
Well,
West.
he's got the Laker fan superiority
You know what,
complex.
though, man? It's just like
They don't even take the Kings seriously.
people are just like, people don't give us enough for the O2 Western Conference Finals. And
And the shafting that happened?
yeah, we got fucked, man.
Yeah, you did. I was
And
writing about
people
it at
think-
the time on ESPN.
No, but people think it's conspiracy theory. But you look at the way the narrative unfolded, and I had to write this down. I was like, I have to remember, because this is wrong.
That was such an egregiously bad officiated game that I remember where I watched it.
We win 61 games.
Yeah.
We go up 2-1. We're great. We're looking great. Game 4.
You're up by 20 in game 4.
Game 4, Ori shot. Classic Sacramento.
Ori shot on a miss, and Vlade taps it back
And by
out
the
to
way,
get rid of the ball
that's the
right
right
to Ori.
play. That's when Vlade tapped it out. Get the ball out of there. Clear it. It's just kismet.
And the
luck.
irony of it is, it was like the greatest possible pass you ever could have given Robert Horry.
Yeah.
He taps it to him. It's chest high, right where he can catch it. His feet are set. He doesn't have to go left
Yeah.
or right. It's like perfect.
Perfect. And
That's where you believe, like, oh, is there karma with sports when you see?
That's when you're just like, oh yeah, God hates Sacramento. Like,
Yeah.
in that moment, you're just like, this is the worst.
yeah.
Game 5, Bibby shot.
Bibby,
It ignites my faith.
big balls for Bibby that whole playoffs. He was
Huge
the
balls.
least afraid guy in their team.
In that Game 5 moment solidified. Remember, you got to understand. We had traded away white chocolate, so there was
Yeah.
this whole narrative of just like we went safe, and it paid off. It's like, yeah, he can hit a 17-footer, and we ran the play, and he hit it, and it was beautiful. We go to Game 6, and to me, that's the egregious highway robbery situation.
It was
Because
outrageous.
was it 27 free throws? They shot 27 free throws in the fourth. Someone on Twitter is going to get at me about this, but they would average 20 something for the whole game. The Kobe Bibby elbow
Near the end, like 30 seconds left.
and look, I argued with
It was a street fight,
Yeah.
but the Kings weren't fighting because they were just getting hit by 2x4s. And
yeah,
it was
and
terrible.
I argue with Larry about this, where he's just like, you still miss free throws, and champions find a way to win. But I think there's always that tipping point for every team that's on the come up where kismet has to be on your side a little bit. You got to get these little breaks. Game 7, another forgotten moment. Chris Webber gets that technical for arguing with the ref in regulation. How many situations in a Game 7 situation do you technical? LeBron would never get that call. Kobe would never get that call. Like, for arguing with Tim Donaghy or
C-Web
whoever.
was one of the 5 best players in the league at this point.
Yeah. We go into overtime, we lose.
So here's my counter to all of this. And by the way, I'm on your side. I think you got completely robbed in Game 6.
Uh-huh.
And I think the Kings were better that year.
We win the championship. We play the Nets and we win.
Yeah, you beat the Nets.
Yeah.
Game 7 was in Sacramento.
Yes.
You got to take care of business in Game 7 at home. They didn't. There were 2 big shots. I think Peja had a wide open three.
Hito also whiffed like a big shot too.
What? Yeah,
Turkoglu.
No, Christie whiffed on one too, but
Yeah.
the Peja one is like that guy was one of the best
He's
3-point
he's
shooters
the
in the
guy.
league at that
Yeah,
point.
yeah.
And he just whiffed on it, and
Yeah.
it was like all these guys around the peripheral guys that you need in a playoff series.
Right.
None of them could come through when it mattered the most, and C-Webb was terrified. I studied that series pretty closely when I wrote my book. C-Webb, like Bibby,
Got shook.
Bibby was the guy who's like, I got this, guys. And C-Webb was just kind of, the numbers don't totally reflect what it was like to watch it, because C-Webb was amazing.
You know what I
And it
feel
was
like-
like, come on, C-Webb. You can get whatever shot you want
That
against
happens
these guys.
with guys who stat stuff. You know, there's guys who always line up, like when you look at the stat line,
Yeah.
they're great for fantasy, but there's always this intangible X factor. I think you talk about it in the book too, where it's just like, there's no statistic for that of just like, they
You know
make
what it's
it
called?
happen.
It's called
clutch.
It's called Who's Scared Right Now.
But it's why that Paul George, you know that Gatorade commercial they have right now, the Paul George Flow one? He's not a clutch player. So that Gatorade commercial is a farce. Right when they cut,
Yeah.
he's like, yeah, and they
Right.
play Tribe, right? And it's
Right.
like, no, you're not clutch.
Right.
You've actually never hit a game winner. So this whole thing is a farce.
Right.
That's a thing that like the internet, like the fantasy nerds don't realize. There's this like X factor, which, and I hate saying this, that Kobe had. He would get the ball, you'd be like, fuck, he's gonna make this shot. Melo kind of has it too. He had a couple years where he was really clutch. He would be the guy who could hit a big fourth quarter shot or a game winner. He was like really good at that. So we didn't have that guy.
I love game sevens because, and I was lucky enough to go to one on Monday when the Celtics played the Wizards.
Yeah.
And you really know. You can just tell. You watch it and it's like, who wants to be here? Who's not afraid? Like, I was really impressed on the Wizards. Like, Bradley Beal was not afraid.
Yeah.
Otto Porter, not afraid.
Yeah. And Wall stepped up too.
John Wall, yeah, he almost wore himself out. He
Yeah.
wanted it so bad. He was like dead in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
But I thought it was encouraging for them. And then on my team, Marcus Smart shows up really when it matters the most.
Yeah.
Crowder, Bradley, Horton.
Yeah,
guys that were just like, okay, we got this. We don't care if it's game 7.
You know what was
And the Kings, it's like you look back at that series. Peja wasn't ready yet. He was young. Christie wanted no part of those shots and was never really a good
Chris was
shooter
never
anyway.
was never great. He was like a diet Pepsi version of Scottie Pippen,
But that
with
isn't
like
that the
way
weakness,
less skill.
right?
Yeah,
Isn't that the
yeah.
weakness of that team though?
No, but we had Bobby Jackson. We had
Right, Bobby Jackson was not scared.
is fucking, and he was
Right.
great. He was tiny. He actually had kind of that like IT4 fire of
Yeah.
just like, I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna do the layup and I'm gonna go for the steal. Like he just didn't care. The thing that bothered me a little bit about C-Webb was like there wasn't that Garnett like. Give me the ball. Remember when Garnett was in his prime? Just like give me the ball and
Well,
I'm
they
gonna
went
operate.
head-to-head in 04.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what bothers me too? Also, is you talk about it in the book. Is I actually think we lose that series and then the next year we win 59 games, but Weber gets hurt. And it's
That's
the
when
beginning.
Weber's knee
It's
injury got hurt.
the beginning of the end.
Yeah.
And when you're a small market franchise, you need these years where it all lines up. Boston had that in 08, where it's just like you went to war with the Lakers, but you came out, so it all became worth it, and you could retain the team for a little bit longer. Dallas beating the Heat, same sort of thing. It's like you're not going to go up to impress the red button and blow up the franchise. And I wish 02 to me was
Because
a
03
critical
you
year.
could have won too. That was the year the Spurs won. It was basically just Duncan, Parker, and Ginobili were pretty young.
No, but
Robinson was washed
Weber
up.
gets hurt.
That's
Injuries
what I
are-
mean.
yeah,
03, like if
Yeah.
Weber stays healthy that year, that could have been the year too.
Yeah, 04, he comes back.
I'm a
he
big
blows up
window
the-
believer.
Yeah.
you had a 3-year window because 01 the Lakers were just ridiculous.
But-
they killed the
But
Kings. in that
post
series.
Jordan, what team is better in that 98 to 2004 window than the Sacramento Kings? One of the most exciting teams ever. We had the white chocolate years, which
Well,
is
even
the
other than
come
the
up.
Lakers. The Lakers did win.
Oh, right.
yeah.
But like as like an elite team that's
Yeah.
like, and to me, I would see what the Suns would do later, and then what the Warriors are kind of doing now. That they had that in the early 2000s. I'm kind of seeing the
The other-
2.0 and 3.0 versions of that now.
Yeah, the other thing that was cool about that Kings team, which people, as the years pass, it kind of fades, is the league was so, it was like all the hero ball. The MJ era led to the hero ball era.
Yeah.
All these guys just clear out, I got this. And everything was one-on-one or like just throw the ball to low post. Shaq, who you had to foul to stop, and the refs
Yeah.
called her, they didn't. But then the Kings were actually guys who were back cuts and
Back cuts, Vladi
fast
around
break.
the back.
Yeah, they were just
it was
fun,
great.
and the league really needed them.
And they all played off of each other.
Yeah.
It was really great. And believe it or not, that era, now we're all in like Mamba memory. Like that team was really Shaq's team. He was eating people alive. He was fucking just swallowing the Trailblazers, just dunking all over people, just 4 people grabbing him, destruction, just massacres in the key. And he was in shape and he was big. He was
That's
like
what
really
in Game
big.
6, the Kings were guarding him a certain way.
Yeah.
And then in Game 6, the refs were just like, no, it's a foul.
Yeah.
But they had already established a certain level of contact with Shaq. And the reality is Shaq was so unstoppable at that
But
point.
it broke.
You
I
just would
think
have fouled him
going
out
into
every
Game 7 and it was at home, it just broke our spirits.
I agree with that.
Like,
It definitely I'd put a pall over Game 7.
Yeah.
But it was still like, man, that Lakers team was ready to be beaten. Even Phil Jackson, I interviewed him once, and I asked him about that year, and he was like, that was the one year we probably
There's a chink in the armor, so to speak.
Yeah, we pulled
You think Phil Jackson
pulled it out of our ass a little
You think
bit.
Phil Jackson is the hype around him is warranted?
I just think he's an old guy who shouldn't run a team.
No, but
he's my dad's age.
but
I
is
don't
he-
think
but is
my
he-
dad should run a team.
but Auerbach did that, didn't he? It wasn't Auerbach like super old and he was running a team and do you know
But
what I
back
mean?
then it was like he was like the trainer too. He had like 5
He's
jobs.
stretching. He's like stretching
Coach,
Bill Russell
GM,
out
yeah.
as he's like smoking a cigar.
He's the accountant.
Stretching you out.
Yeah, there was like 5 people working.
I
for
don't
the
know,
team at that
man.
point.
And you know what sucks is that like people shit on us all the time about how we give up our best talent, and it is sad. It's like seeing an ex-girlfriend go on to do great things. Now we have the Isaiah Thomas thing. At one point we had Isaiah Thomas, Hassan Whiteside, and DeMarcus Cousins.
Right.
Isn't that
All of that's
crazy? In that
explainable,
draft.
though.
What do you
Hassan
mean?
Whiteside's was crazy when he played for you.
Right.
Isaiah. I mean,
You
the
think we-
Kings fans knew Isaiah was good.
You think he was pizza guy then?
I think
You
Boogie
think-
and
you think we
Gates-
could have made it work?
I think Boogie and Gay told the owners
Get rid
in
of
the
him.
front office, like, yeah, can you get us a pass first point guard? Is what I think.
So that's why the Collison thing happens.
Yes. I think the blood is on the Boogie hands. And
I like
Rudy Gay
Collison
hands
too.
with that one.
I mean, it's been heartbreaking.
Was it weird for you that Vivek bought the team?
Yeah, it's weird because look, as an Indian American, you get
yeah.
super proud, but then you find out he's
You get the first Indian American
yeah,
owner?
but then he's insane. Do you understand? Like representation matters.
Yeah.
If you're a white owner, there's so like it's like all right, that's he's a bad one. Like we have a guy. The Jaguars owner's Pakistani too, so I think there's only like
Shad Khan.
Yeah,
The guy
there's-
looks like Ron Jeremy.
yeah, there's only like whatever. So this is also the thing where you get into like billionaire mindset. When you've won at so many other things in life, you
Yeah.
can't tell him anything. Didn't he have this weird strategy with his daughter's basketball team where like he was
he
like don't play
pressed.
defense, or was he
No,
prep?
it was the full court press with like 7th grade girls basketball or 8th grade or something.
yeah. And he's
Yeah.
just like, let's do that with NBA basketball.
I actually I'm pro Vivek. I just think
In what way?
I think he's a really smart guy. I think these guys sometimes make the mistake of when they take over an NBA franchise, they've succeeded at all the other parts of their life. And they're like, now I'll do this and
Yeah.
I'll put in this. And
Yeah.
the owners that actually succeed in the NBA are the ones that don't do that. Who they go and they get somebody who knows what they're doing, and then they stay out of the way and kind of run interference.
You think
for
having
them.
Vladi in the front office is a good thing?
No.
You know what's crazy?
Vlade wasn't in the NBA for 10 years.
What was he doing?
Like he was like in Europe. He wasn't even like around the league.
He was doing the interview for that 30 for 30 where
the
him
Vla-
and all
right.
those guys. Yeah, you were like a
Oh
friend.
my God, the Vlade stories are crazy. Like the GMs calling and him not understanding certain mechanics of the cap and things. I mean, I'm sure he's better with it now.
Is that a
but-
real thing?
Yeah.
You know what's
Yeah.
crazy is I got to play in this. Like this is even bigger than dinner for me. I got to play in the NBA Celebrity Game. So
Yeah,
I
I
saw
saw
them.
that.
I saw them Saturday night. So I see them sitting there. Everybody's walking up to all the A-list people. But I was like, I got to pay homage. So it's Vivek, Vladi, and Peja, and I had to go up to Vivek because he essentially saved our franchise from being bought by Steve Ballmer. Him and Kevin Johnson worked on getting a group together and
Right.
keeping it in Sacramento.
Well, it wasn't essentially. They saved the franchise. They were going to Seattle.
Yeah.
Yeah. It wasn't. If it wasn't for Vivek, they're gone.
So to me, I'm like, I'm a kid. I grew up in Davis. We have nothing.
Yeah.
You can see downtown Sacramento, which is like 4 buildings from Davis because it's just
Yeah.
fields. So I'm just like, thank you for
Yeah.
keeping We have nothing. You got to understand, like cities like our city, like Sacramento, it's like you have a mall and you have that, and then you build culture around that. So I was like, thank you for keeping it here. Thank you for figuring out a way to put the arena in downtown. And then the next day you trade Boogie. Like, I'm like shaking your hand.
Right.
And I know I'm the only person. I definitely am the only brown person that's coming up to you that's like from Sacramento.
Right.
In the entertain blah, blah, blah world. I just want to say thank you for helping the city and like all this stuff. And then he's like, yeah, thank you so much. And there was a look in his eye. And I don't know if it was just like a, hey, I know who you are. Or, hey, thank you so much. But he had to know. Because Boogie didn't play in the All-Star game.
He gave you like the Michael Corleone Fredo.
Yeah,
Like the kiss on the cheek.
right. But there's like something that's like, I know something that you don't know. I was like, kid, your life's about to change.
You know, it actually,
So sad,
in retrospect,
man.
wasn't a bad trade. It
I
was
know
just
that-
the timing of the
I know
trade.
that you argue this, but it's one of those things where, because look, it's like, there's the argument of just like, yeah, we've ran our course with Boogie, but what do we have now? I don't even, like, it's like,
So
Collison,
the biggest part of that
Southgate,
trade,
I don't even know what we have.
Chicago was getting your pick unless it fell in the top 10. So part of the reason they traded Boogie,
Bill, this is why I love you. You do the balancing of the budget. This is the stuff no one has time for, and you're able to do this.
this is my job.
Yeah.
You trading Boogie, you cripple the team, then you get to keep your pick. So there was a strategic
We haven't drafted well,
part
though.
to that.
Jimmer, like,
well, so that's where the
Jesus,
plan falls
man.
apart, when the fact that you guys make terrible draft picks. But
Yeah.
on paper now you have the 5th and the 10th pick.
didn't we pass on
Your
Clay
buddy
Thompson,
Hield.
too? Jesus, man.
Yeah, the Jimmer pick's tough.
Fuck, man.
Jimmer's tough for me because I'm still like
And
his
people
last
were
believer. You
pumped.
believed in him too.
I know, and we were all like, Jimmer.
Yeah,
We're
yeah.
idiots.
Yeah.
God, we're idiots.
Wait, Steph Curry.
Yeah, Jimmer. We were like in the arena, people like, Jimmer. I'm like, what are we doing?
The stuff you did, what was it, 5 years ago with Linsanity?
It's huge.
You were doing
Changed my life.
videos. Yeah, it was like
I had to put it on wax. I wasn't on the Daily Show at the time, but I'm just like, are you kidding me? The guy who
what
was
did
just
you
like,
say your hierarchy was? It was like for basketball players, it was like black basketball players,
Right.
white basketball players,
paraplegics,
women.
Yeah, like just the WNBA, like
And then it was the Indian and Asian Americans
like
on the
way
bottom.
down here, like the bottom of the bottom of the field. And to me, just the fact that like the dude you cheat off of in calc is crossing up John Wall and going game time in your face, I'm just like, eat it.
Yeah.
Eat it. Remember that game he had in Toronto where he has the ball up top? This is like the second or third game
was
when
the buzzer
Linsanity
beater,
started-
right? Yeah.
Like someone, is Amari or Melo's coming up, he waves him off. Just the grapefruits of like, get out of here.
Yeah.
Like, get out of here. The calc TA is about to take the game winner. And then he hits it. And I'm just like, he's on one. Like, and I didn't live in New York at the time. I was living in LA. But people told me who were living in New York, it's like, he revitalized the city.
Oh, 100%.
And just
That was the moment when Melo was like, get this guy out of here.
Yeah.
I just got waved off by
No, but you
by the
know what
calculus
was so
major.
great is he did what Bollywood does for male it's so funny in Hollywood. Indian males are emasculated. We're like the IT nerds, but in Bollywood we have like 8-packs. We're in the mountains. We're like lovers. It's just like we fuck people up. Like it's the best. He did that to American culture. It's just like no, like the Asian male is an alpha. He was a fucking ninja out there, man. He gave it to Kobe too. He dropped like 34 on the. He was working, and Kobe's such a dick about it too. He was like at the All-Star game, was like, I don't know who the fuck like Jeremy Lin is, and to me that's just wrong. It's like, who was a bigger headline than Jeremy Lin?
Yeah,
I refuse to believe that like he was that big in the Muse cage that he didn't know who Jeremy Lin was.
He was working on some
Fucking
algorithm
puppet
in the Muse cage.
whatever, some purple puppet.
Now he's probably ready to do a whole Muse cage Linsanity 5 years later thing.
Yeah, I mean, what sucked is when you watch the Linsanity documentary, there's a thing where he's working with his trainer, and this bugs me because I have this weird connection to him because he's such a child of immigrants, good kid, like loves his brothers and siblings, and like I really resonate with that story. And he's working with his trainer, and his trainer's like, he's shooting jumpers, and then the trainer looks to camera and is like, now we got to get Jeremy to believe what's happening right now. Like he's making his shots, he's in rhythm. Jeremy needs to own this now and get less in his head. And I love Jeremy Lin. He caught a wave, and then I think just the rest, the knee stuff. And
Got
just,
hurt a couple times.
Yeah, and just like you start to think about the moment.
There was some bias
but there's
with
no
him,
better
though.
time, and you know this. The Rocky 1 moment for you as an artist or as an athlete is the best.
Yeah.
All you got to do is go the distance.
Yeah.
You know, and then when expectation happens, I've seen this happen with comedians too. You're on your third or fourth special, you start to do certain movies. It's like that weighs down on you, and you can't make the same swings you used to. You know, but you got to remember that's what got you there. You know.
So Rocky 1. I like to see, I love the Rocky movies. This is fascinating.
But you know how, like, remember in Rocky 3, he's got the fucking pinball machine with him in it, and like
Rocky 2, he's at the hospital for long stretches of time with his ailing wife. That's
Rocky
when,
1,
like, you hit the rock bottom, climb back.
Yeah. Remember that one scene in Rocky, which is like, it's almost like an 8-minute scene where Mick comes up to his
walks the stairs.
Yeah, and he goes, let me manage you, and he's like, what about all those years you forgot about me?
Yeah.
What about me? You like it here? It stinks. And he punches. It stinks. But that was Jeremy. Fuck you. You didn't draft me? Like, fuck you. Harvard. I had to go to Harvard. I was one of the best players at Pally.
Daryl Morey said he should have been like a top 15 pick.
And it was branding. It's like, look at this kid. It's the way he looks. I felt that way in Hollywood too. It's the way, he can't be a leading man. Look at the way he looks. And to me, it was so cool to see him be like, no, I'm just going to put up numbers and you're going to have to deal with it. And so, it really was like a Rocky 1 thing, and fuck, that scene makes me cry. And he runs down the stairs, and then you hear the piano. Dun dun.
It's very well shot.
Dun dun. It's a beautiful scene. He also fought. Stallone also fought for that scene where he's lying in bed, and Adrian's behind him, and he was just like, I just want to go the distance. I just want to prove to people that I'm just.
If I could go the distance.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was his Oscar speech scene.
He said
he was like, I'm one Oscar speech scene short.
Yeah. But you know what's crazy is, and you learn this on set, like a lot of times you're over budget or you're working overtime. He had to fight. He's like, we got to shoot this. And they shot it in like a take.
They should have cut the scene when he basically sexually assaults Adrian on the first date.
Yeah.
That scene has not aged well.
Yeah.
He has her like pinned against the door.
Yeah.
And it's
cut that scene.
Yeah, maybe take that one out.
And keep the ice skating rink scene is still really beautiful.
Some good solid ice skating.
Yeah, and it's just like really
So what's your prognosis for the Kings?
What do you think, man? We got the pick 5. We got pick 5 and pick what?
I think you're in pretty good shape.
5 and 10.
You're 5 and 10. You're gonna get a point guard. You're gonna get somebody who's at least gonna be a rotation guy with 10. Buddy Hield actually looked good.
No, but come on, man. Buddy Hield's not Steph. Like everyone's like, he's going to be the next. Steph.
Nobody actually thinks that. I think Vivek said that. I think Vivek, if you learn from your mistakes as an owner, he's made a lot of mistakes to learn from.
Yeah.
So that's a good thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's hard.
You
for
think
me.
it'll work out?
I don't think he's like a James Dolan type.
How often are we going to get a Boogie? Boogie's one of the best centers in the league.
Boogie never won 40 games for you though.
Yeah.
I mean, at some point, it's got to matter that.
So we need a rookie
horrible to play
who's going to
with.
get us to win, who's going to also be a winner.
Let me ask you this: is it a bad sign that my team had a chance to make the finals if something weird happened in Cleveland? We had the assets to trade for Boogie. We needed a low post center who could rebound.
Yeah, and now
and I was happy that they didn't trade for him.
Do you regret that decision now?
No, I don't.
You think history will show that?
Boogie
kind of.
I don't know.
Is it kind of in a weird nutcase, whatever position? Like he's just kind of like he's got that Rasheed Wallace in him, where he's just kind of his own head kind of screws him up. Do
you have kids?
No, but we want kids.
So I have a girl and a boy, and boys reach a stage when they're like somewhere between 3 and 4.
Yeah,
where they could just lose it at any time, and
they're just like maniacs.
He could be at like the movie theater or whatever. They get mad, and they just have a lot of different things going on. And you're just kind of holding on like, oh boy, here we go.
Yeah.
That's kind of like what it's like to root for Boogie, where he could have 40 points in a game with 2 minutes left. The wrong call goes the wrong way, and all of a sudden he's storming, And
I think he has ADHD. Like he has some sort of because he's such a good dude and he's a very loyal guy. Like he did that. Like
that's the thing is he's a super loyal guy.
Yeah,
he was loyal to me. Now he's mad at me. But
why? What'd you guys do?
Because I used to be his biggest defender, and then I didn't vote for him for All NBA, and he got mad about it.
Why? He is an All NBA talent.
I can't vote for anybody for All NBA who can't win 41 games. You got to go 500.
Why are you
just got to go 500? If you're gonna be one of the best 15 players in the league,
the Kings are garbage, dude.
I know, but I'm saying that from
I made
an exception for Anthony Davis just because his stats are so ridiculous.
But Anthony Davis gets injured way more than Boogie. He's got like weird knee and fucking ankle issues and all that stuff. You should have voted for him, man, because he's not going to get the love otherwise.
Big Kings.
Yeah,
he's not on your team anymore.
But when he did his speech and he cried at Mountain Mike's Pizza, I'm like, this is a good dude.
That was
man.
pretty good.
It's like he's a good
He's
good
super loyal
dude.
guy.
Yeah, and then like I saw him again, like, and I've had weird interactions with NBA players where they're like, get away, because I'm a big fan. You know, like, get the fuck away from me. Had this weird interaction with Vince Carter, the 2000 All-Star game. I walked up to him at the craps table with all my friends. It's like me and 3 other Indian dudes I grew up with, and he's like, get the fuck away from me. I'm trying to talk to a girl with a fat ass. And I'm like, I'm sorry. And that's when you ever realize you look at yourself in the mirror and you're like, oh yeah, I'm an adult, and he wants to talk to an Instagram chick or something. This is in 2000s though. Maybe it was a Friendster girl, but like
MySpace.
But like the times that I've ran into Book, even at All-Star, he was just like super cool. And when you're like, I'm from Sac, like shows a lot of love and like. Yeah, he's a big time player, and like that means that to me that means that does speak volumes.
Make the playoffs once. That's all I'm saying. Just make
With
the playoffs
who,
once.
with Bill, with who?
Anthony Davis made it once.
And-
Who was on the Pelicans team that made the playoffs?
Didn't they have? I don't even know.
Yeah.
But yeah, look, like I'm tired of also. I grew up in Davis, Sacramento, so people from the Bay shit on us, and I'm just like, first of all, becoming a Warriors fan is the new Lakers bandwagon team, like because I don't want to hear it from anybody who's a Warriors fan. When Steph Curry was AKA Mr. Glass Ankles, nobody was wearing a Steph Curry Thunderbolt Warriors jersey. Then 3 years ago, he becomes a man possessed, shooting shots from half court, swishing. Everybody buys the Golden State Warriors bridge jerseys, and they become the new team. I see every 8-year-old kid with Under Armour, and it pisses me off because they became the new Lakers bandwagon team. I knew people in the Bay that had Kobe jerseys, and the irony of it to me,
is true.
The irony of this is
that one.
Kobe's pop happens against the Warriors, and I bust balls on one of my friends about this. I go, so when that game happened, pre-pop, pre the Achilles pop,
who are you rooting for?
Who are you rooting for? KB24 or the Warriors? The reality is, all those dudes that live in Fremont and San Jose and San Ramon were Mamba fans, and then the switch happens, and they're like, "Oh, Dub Nation." To me, I'm a Kings fan through and through. I have no other skin in the game. I don't give a fuck about all these other teams. I have no skin in the game. I'm here to watch I'm just here to be entertained. I'm here for high fives and butt slaps. I do not care about anything else.
Fives and butt slaps.
Yeah, I'm just here to like watch a good
I agree
show.
with you, and I disagree with you because I think that the Warriors had great fans. But a lot of the people who are fans for them now were not fans for them 5 years ago.
Correct.
Because I was always shocked when I did my book tour.
And let me put this on the record. Shout outs to the core Filipino hardcore Dubs fans. I see you. You guys have been crazy. I remember going to Oracle. I've seen you guys for years.
Yeah.
You guys are real fans. But there's all these new Silicon Valley 2.0 wannabe fans that are the worst.
When I was there, I remember I went to a game in 99 when C-Web came back. It was the first time I'd been to a Warriors game. It was 98 or 99.
This gets me so mad. I'm sorry.
I couldn't believe...
I get really mad. I'm sorry, man.
I couldn't believe, first of all, how great the crowd was, but also it was by far the most diverse NBA crowd I'd ever seen in my life. They had like a ton of black fans.
Yes.
It just felt different.
Yes.
And now you go and it's a worse version of every
it's
other
Palo
crowd.
Alto.
Yeah,
and
it really is.
All of this. I went to Game 7 with my buddy Josh, and we're at Game 7, and it was so great as a Kings fan to watch this live.
Yeah.
Because
watch them lose.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I got to sit in the bottom section. That whole bottom section was just all of Caucasia. It was all of Palo Alto, Silicon Valley, like yuppie dudes with boat shoes. And then up top, that's where I saw like the Filipino community, the black community, like the real Oakland fans that are like, hey, we've been behind the Warriors for years. And that's what bothers me about the narrative, is that it's become this new like Silicon Valley LA Laker type team, you know? And you know, now that Steph isn't playing so good, or he's playing human, I see way less Wardell 30 jerseys out there. There's way less Curry jerseys being worn. And that bothers me. You should be
Wardell.
Yeah, that's his handle.
Yeah,
I call him Wardell. Yeah, it's like, no, you should be ride or die. People were just losing their mind. They've just forgave the Kaiser Permanente commercials and the Brita water filter commercials. He's the truth. He's the greatest thing ever. And then now he's playing kind of human, and you're just like, all right, he's all right.
I think they'll all be back this year.
Oh, because they're going to go to the finals?
Yeah, they're going to win the finals.
Oh, you think they're going to beat Cleveland?
I do. Cleveland's defense isn't good enough. It would have to be LeBron's all-time superhuman effort.
Last year was all-time superhero.
The Celtics have wide open shots. I was talking about my dad before. I mean,
yeah.
if they're missing wide open shots for 48 minutes,
Yeah.
we have to go. Not because we're out of time, because it's too freaking hot in here. Because we turned the air conditioning off.
Oh,
so
we got to roll.
the listeners. Yeah, that's it.
How long
Plus, you
were-
got
how
to tape
long-
some video stuff.
how long
that
were
was
we
like
talking?
45 minutes.
Really?
Yeah.
Dude, I
Plug
want-
your Netflix thing one more time.
Netflix Homecoming King now stream. When will this drop?
Today.
Oh, it'll drop
So it's-
today.
yeah, it's going
Yeah,
tomorrow.
it'll stream tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah, Netflix Homecoming King.
He's
stream
right in
it.
a nice little spot.
Oh, this is great, man.
Right at the top.
Yeah.
What does it say? New.
Oh yeah.
And then underneath that is where
little tile.
Netflix figures out all the things you like. So it's like,
Yeah.
you like horror movies with sex crimes. Go there, but it'll be right above that.
Right. It'll be
Yeah.
like, you want to watch Luther or a very emotional show about.
You love the
Hassan and his
missing
dad.
because you like
Yeah.
when women get kidnapped.
Yeah.
What? Wait,
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
judge
yeah.
me.
But also watch Homecoming King by Hassan Minhaj. Streaming on Netflix tomorrow.
Good luck with it.
Look, man, I put a lot of heart and soul into it, so I hope you guys enjoy it. Worked on it for the past 3 years, so.
Would you
Wish
rather
you nothing but the
win
best.
an Emmy with the special or have the Kings make the conference finals in the next 5 years?
Conference finals.
Okay.
Thanks,
Hassan,
man.
thank you.
Yeah, thanks, man.
All right, thanks so much to Hassan. Thanks to my dad. Thanks to SeatGeek, our presenting sponsor. Thanks to CreditWise from Capital One. It's a free app that lets you track the factors that make up your credit health. Using information from your TransUnion credit report, you can check it anytime without negatively impacting your credit. Download CreditWise today. Don't forget about theringer.com. Don't forget about our newest podcasts, Larry Wilmer, Black on the Air, and Against All Odds with Cousin Sal, as well as the Ringer NFL show, the Ringer NBA show, Shack House. The Masked Man show is going to be breaking down the big Backlash WWE pay-per-view this week. Achievement-oriented, if you like video games. We have a whole bunch of stuff for you. Oh, Jam Session. The Bachelorette podcast starts this week with Juliet. Bachelor Party. I guess it's Bachelorette Party this week. It's now because it's a Bachelorette. But first one is tonight, actually, on ABC. So Juliet will be breaking that one down. My wife might even be the guest. So look for that on Channel 33, and we'll be back with the BS podcast later in the week.